All right. I'm going to introduce you, and then we'll get into it.
Let's do it.
Do you want a special kind of intro this time around? Anything new added to it you want to add?
Just about
your life,
my intro. Nah, dude, whatever you know how you're the best intro man there ever was.
Shit. I'm about to get fucking Bruce Buffer in here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's episode. Ladies and gentlemen, getting weird on a Wednesday. You are in for a treat. And when I say a treat, it is a nice little ginger snap style treat coming in hot once again on the podcast. Blessing our presence, the one and only Jesse Doyle. Jesse Doyle, Doyle rules, the Ginga Ninja. Let's hear it from him. Welcome, man. Welcome.
Dude, you're undefeated in the hype man, dude. I should put that as an official hype man right here.
Dude, I'm gonna
That's
add that
perfect
to the resume. Is technically is it the third time you're on, or is it
technically third time we've talked? Let's see, we did the one I came down and saw you, and then we did our little catch up episode, short little blurb, and then now we're back for call it 2.5.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that episode last night in bed. You know, late night is when you kind of think about all the stuff you've done and you're like, I wish I could have done this better. Is that episode 100? I thought about it. I was like, why didn't I just have everybody on the podcast again in episodes? I made it so much harder for myself to try to have every single guest on one episode. Like, I don't know who I think I am, but I'm like, I'm going to get everybody on one episode. But it was too much work. You know,
dude, you pulled it off, man. Even for this, dude, I called you. We were supposed to meet up. What was that? A couple weeks ago. Yeah. I ended up getting my bell rung doing a wrestling tournament, so I was in no shape to be doing an interview. But then the other day, I texted you and said, "All right, man, I'm good now. What's up?" And you said, "How about Tuesday?" And I was like, "Oh shit, he's on it." You know?
Dude, so I love it. Any chance I can talk to you, man. Because that was one thing. It's pretty organic how you and I talk. Because like from the first time I met you at HBUTC, I feel like we just started chatting, and I was like, oh, I could talk to this guy about anything. So any chance I get to catch up, man, I'm always here.
That's the truth, man. That's the truth. Man, you look fresh with your short hair. I saw you look like you've been training a little bit. Saw you got that blue belt chin now, dude. Hey.
Hey, man, the ground is my ocean now. You know, I'm a little sand shark, dog, and most
just
people
don't be getting that the blue belt blues
and just disappear forever.
You, I've had some, dude, disappear, man, disappear. Yeah. Some people stick right through, and you don't even got to worry about it. But it's true, man. Some people get that blue belt, and they're like, "Thanks."
Yeah, for the people who don't know, I got promoted blue belt. I'm just not a little maggot anymore in jiu-jitsu. Yeah. And there's a curse that happens in the jiu-jitsu world, and it's become a meme. It's a butt of a joke, but it's so true, is that a lot of times when people get that blue belt, they're not a white belt anymore, and they're like, I'm out. You know, I got what I needed. Bragging rights. I'm the toughest guy at Buffalo Wild Wings. I'll see y'all never. You know?
Facts.
Dude, because as soon as you get a blue belt, you can just be like, well, technically I'm a blue belt, so he should have actually got the hooks in. Like, you just feel like you can comment on anything. You know, you're the authority.
My favorite ones are the ones where it's like me watching UFC with my non-jiu-jitsu friends, you know, and he's like a blue belt. He's like a mastermind. He's like Helio Gracie, basically.
Yeah.
He's like, I know more than all of you combined.
Yeah. Dude, that's what's so funny about watching fights with people who don't train at all is I'll call some out and be like, oh, he's got to look out for that. And then the commentator will say it and they'll look at me like I'm fucking like, how'd you know that? But I'm like, anybody who knows anything would know that was about to happen. I'm like, oh, his neck, he's got to watch his neck. Oh, and they're just like, oh my God. Yeah. We were talking before the podcast started. You were just in Miami.
Yeah, we just got back from South Beach.
And your girlfriend, she had an MMA fight out there. Shout out.
Yeah, Laura Anderson. Shout out La Jefa.
La Jefa.
She did great. She got the unanimous decision win. She's back at it May 29th in CFFC in New Jersey. So she's right back at it. But yeah, Miami was a hell of a trip, man. We had a good time. We had to be quarantined in the hotel though. for the first 5 days. I'm thinking we're going to go to my, Florida, Miami, everything's going to be open. We're going to be able to go to the beach in between sessions, whatever, We get there, we're like at a hotel, like 1 mile outside the airport, and then we're locked down in this little thing, dude. So, but it was a business trip, we were there to take care of business for the first 5 days anywhere. So, we take care of business, get the fight done. And then we got to go down to South Beach for like 2 days, and it was a blast, man. It was like, that should be a different country down there.
Dude, how much better are vacations after a fight? That pent up build up, you've been preparing for it, and then the release of getting the win, and then you have a couple days just to chill where you're at. There's nothing better than that. It's the most earned vacation of all time.
Earned. It's a toss up though. You've had to. I feel like you want to just get on the plane home if you lose, you know what I mean? Like trips or even like a jiu-jitsu competition or something, you lose the match, you're like, nah, man, I don't deserve to have a good time. Like, yeah.
The self-torture. Yeah.
Yeah. But even for her, it's like, it's a huge buildup and to get that release at the end, man, there's nothing better, That would be the worst thing, like even in my wrestling career and then on into my fighting career. Like my wrestling career would be like you train really hard and then you show up for the match and then the other team might forfeit to you, right? They might just be like, oh, our dude's going to take a loss, so we're just not going to send anybody out there,
Blue balls,
that used to get me so literally, bro. Literally, you're like, I need that fix. I've been looking for it all week, and then you forfeit to me. I just stare the coach in the eyes. And I just go over, put my gear on, and I'd go in the back, dude, like either in the
hit a workout
room or go outside and hit it hard. You know what I mean? Because it's like your body needs it. You need to feel like you did something. And the same thing with the fight, man. The fight is on another level, even. It's like I've broke down in tears before because I was supposed to fight, and then then they canceled it, and then it was back on with 4 days left, and I'm like, oh, so now I'm fighting again, and then they canceled again. I'm like, literally crying, like, dude, I can fight or I can not fight, but the hardest thing in the world is you're fighting, no, you're not. Now you're fighting, no, you're not, because you got to just approach things different. You know what I mean? Like when you're in fight camp, and there is no like, oh, I hope it gets canceled, or I hope there's, I hope something happens or whatever. Your mind will try to make all those little mental gymnastics, but once like, I'm getting in that fucking cage in 2 weeks, it makes everything a little easier. But if you're like, is it gonna happen? Is it not? Am I, then that's a shitty place to be, stuck in limbo right there.
Yeah, that happened in Puerto Rico when I was competing in boxing, where the day before they said there was no fight, and then the morning of, they're like, the fight's back on, and then once I'm there warming up, they changed my opponent, and they're like, oh, your opponent is going to be here soon. You know how fucking terrifying that is to not know what kind of ringer they're about to run you through with fucking whoever they're about to bring in, fucking Miguel Cotto with a wig on. And I'm just like,
100%. They spell it with a K instead of a C.
Mikey Cotto is about to fight.
Dude, people don't know that, especially when you're cutting your teeth and you're coming up through the ranks, whether it's in Puerto Rico and some smoker fights or in the reservation out here in California, man.
Anything can happen in those reservations, dude. Man.
That's the Wild West. You have to go past the Scientology headquarters to get to the reservation we used to fight on out here in Hemet, California. It's just desert, then a fucking castle, like 100-acre castle, whole complex, green grass, golf course. You're like, what is that? I Googled it, and I was like, I'll be damned. It's a Scientology resort.
Dude, I wonder how many fighters they've gotten on the way back who got beat, who they're like, man, fuck this, I need something. And then they're like, you know what? These people are real fucking supportive, man. I'm going to go in here.
Dude, I don't know, man. That shit, you get a little eerie feeling going past there. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
In LA, there was times, because I would do like acting auditions and everything. And with Scientology, there's been a couple weird things that happen because they're all through the entertainment. There's a lot of actors, just the mindset of like creatives, like there's an insecurity with like that can be preyed upon. And Scientology is looking for it. And
like I said, that insecurity that can be preyed upon.
They're looking for weakness in the fence, like velociraptors. And I remember I was standing there and this really hot girl, like very pretty, there was a couple of them. They were walking, waiting for everybody who was in a line to go in. And they were just looking at everybody while they walked by like fucking lions. And I remember this girl's just looking, and then I'm like looking at her. I'm just like, this is weird. And then she makes eye contact with me, and then beelines over to me. And she's like, hey, what's your name? And I was like, Evan. And she's like, wow, you seem really cool. And like started talking to me. And I'm like, I feel like a werewolf is in the room. And I'm like, oh, this is not good. And then she's like, how long you been acting? And like, wow, you really seem awesome. And like all this stuff. And then she hands me the Scientology pamphlet. Yeah. And I'm like, no. I instantly shut. I'm like, I'm not interested at all. I'm not the one. And then I go in, she's like, yeah, she goes in, does her thing. Like, I'm like, all right. And then I go out and I see them just like getting people to sign up for things. And like these dudes, like I saw one get in the car with them. Like, oh, no. And I'm like, they're gone forever. They're gone forever. God. Dude, he's probably folding Tom Cruise's laundry right now. You know?
And they just like walked in, tapped the old guy on the shoulder and be like, hey, you can go. He's the new guy.
They're going to sacrifice him.
Dude, I've been doing this therapy called counter strain therapy. And it's really been helping me a lot. It's like a type of massage, and it's real non-invasive, real passive. Like you're not
counter strain.
Yeah, counter strain therapy.
Okay.
And the reason I think of when you say Scientology is because I've went down there a few times, and it's all about like getting blood flow, your nerves, your lymphatic system. It's based in a ton of great science and stuff, and they know the body like I wish I knew the body. Oh, I like you drinking out the mason jar, son. Shout out North Carolina.
Bro, we in the Midwest now, you know, we in here.
Damn right. But anyway, like even when I try to describe it right now, it sounds like a little woo-woo, you know? And then what he really does is he grabs your head, like that you're laying on the massage table. He'll move your head around. And then based on where you're like tender at on your head, you know, it maps to somewhere on your body. And now as soon as I tell that, people are like, okay, this is way out here, you know? But I've brought a bunch of fighters over there and myself included. And it's really helped a lot. And I told that guy, I said, you know, because I'd come in with something hurt and, you know, I've been through the ringer, got every injury, you know, and he'll go in there and work on something. And I'm like, nah, this ain't going to work. This is, you know, he's trying to just placebo me into something, you know, because he'll push somewhere it doesn't hurt, you know, maybe your shoulder hurts, but he's pushing up here on your neck and your chest or something, not on the spot that hurts. And then he'll let go and I'll get off the table, you know, an hour later, I'll be like, oh, damn, dude. I said, you could start a cult. I was like, what the hell? I was like, you could just tell me that the demons were gone from my shoulder or that, you know, I didn't say my prayers enough. And now you set me back. What do they call it? The thetans in Scientology. Yeah. Like you got thetans on you.
Yeah.
But that's how that shit starts, man. You have something that takes away somebody's pain or works a little bit. And, you know, the snake oil salesman of back in the day, like, you know,
yeah, man,
it'll work. But I'm telling you, I told him mad times, like, you want to start a church, man? I'll back you.
I'm in. I'll be the muscle.
We'll take over the world, dude.
That's interesting. I believe a lot of that with like, if anything, especially if it's a physical massage or anything, if he was just holding a crystal over your forehead, I might be like, I don't know what that's doing. Yeah. But like, there's so many nerve endings and just certain things like on your head and everything's connected like to your neck and then your shoulders and like all the nerves. I believe it, man, that it's some kind of massage.
I believe it so much. I brought my mom, put my mom over there. She came and visited me, brought my aunt who's got terminal illness, but she has a really bad ankle that she was bothering her. And she called me the other day and said, oh my goodness, my ankle feels so good. Like even the day it happened, it felt good, but it just keeps getting better, you know? And I was man. So, and it started, the way I found out about it was, I don't know if I told this story or not, but Laura's best friend is Helen Maroulis, and she's the girls' first ever girls Olympic champ for the United States. And she just made her second Olympic team. She's going back.
In what sport?
In wrestling.
Oh, wow.
In wrestling, yeah. So look her up. She had a great match against, I want to say Yoshida, I think, from Japan, who was like a 3-time Olympic champion. She dethroned the Olympic champ to win it. Yeah, so Helen's an amazing person, and she's had her own battles. Sports Illustrated just covered a whole thing with her about her concussions and her whole road back to the Olympics and things like that. And that's actually who recommended it to us, because she had a ton of stuff happen with her concussions, wasn't sure if she was going to compete or anything. Yeah. And there's a guy named Brian Tuckey who was kind of like the pioneer of this counter strain therapy, and he's out in Maryland, Rockville, Maryland. And so I flew out there to see him. I was like, dude, I need something. My head's going, you know. I was like, getting to the, you know, am I going to go crazy one day and just snap and lose it, or, you know what I mean? And the whole time there, I was driving there. We got there. I was in a shitty mood. We had traveled. The lady at the car rental place got me, dude. I was like, I was so pissed off just being a dickhead to everybody. And she said, "Sir, I need the papers." I said, "What papers?" And she was like, "The paper they gave you at checkout, sir." And I'm like, "Well, all right." I slammed the door. It's in the back of the car. So I get out, walk around, get the paper, rip it all out, throw it in her face. I'm like, "Here." She said the perfect thing. She said, "Thank you, sir. I hope your day gets better." And then just like, oh, I was like, "Oh, you got me. You got me. I am being a dickhead, So that just tells you where I was at. I was already on a destruction path. So I go and get this treatment.
Was this around the time we were going to do the podcast, or is this before?
This is previous,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then, and I did it in response to the last time I got dinged too, though. It's one of my big things to help get better and things like that. But this is when I first found out about it. I go out there and get the treatment done, and meet Brian, and he does the treatment. One of his guys does the treatment and everything. And I get up off the table. And then Laura says, "You're talking different." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she was like, "You're talking like quieter." And I was like, "Yeah, well, my voice doesn't sound so loud in my head. I don't feel like I'm like talking over myself." You know what I mean? And then that was just a start to a whole new chapter, man, of giving me a lot of my cognition back, my life back in a lot of ways, man. So if you're struggling with any problems, man, go out to check out Counter Strength Therapy. They're all over the nation. So it's they got certified guys everywhere. That's
awesome, man. For people who don't know, you're talking about concussions is what you got from wrestling.
Specifically
correct?
For me, concussions, old hip problems, things like that, and everything in between, you know what I mean? So.
Hey, I want to ask you, this happened to me, and I don't know if it has anything to do with jiu-jitsu, but I got choked pretty hard. Just in general, you go to a new gym, you're going to get choked around. I started developing these crazy eye floaters, and to the point where now I'm getting like headaches, like, cause there's so many. And I'm like, I wonder if it's some weird shit out of, alignment that, someone tugged on my neck weird. And I'm like,
dude,
now
definitely can, man. Definitely can. I've never heard of getting like the floaters in your eyes and stuff. I know like I'll get lightheaded, especially if you choke like first thing in the morning, you know what I mean? You go in there and you roll and somebody gets you and you're like, get a little woozy. We call it free drugs, you got some free drugs right there. But dude, I'm telling you, that counter strain is something I would look into with anything. And he also got me to do so now like my neck would move a lot, and that was the thing, is that my neck was shifting, and then that was blocking blood flow on one side or the other, either returning or coming out. And it's I can't remember what it's called, some halo or something about a perfect circle. It has a name, and it's like Jefferson loop or something. I don't know what it is, but it's how your blood goes into your brain and comes out. So now he's got me pretty, cleared out, and I feel like I'm doing a lot better. So now before I grapple or wrestle or anything, I do like a headstand for like, 20, 30 seconds. And it's supposed to like set your C1, 2, and 3, kind of set them together so they're not going to move. And then it's like your body's upside down, so your nervous system's like, oh, we're about to do some crazy shit, like we better turn on, you know what I mean? Instead of like, you try to be relaxed in jiu-jitsu, but then you go in too lax and then you hurt something, you're like, oh shit, I should have been trying, you know what I mean? So
damn, that's
just little things like that. I don't know about the floaters though. Like you're talking about just like a thing you see in your eye, right?
Yeah. Dude, I got like 20 right now, where it's like I just like constantly, if I go outside, it really happens in the sky, and it like messes with my equilibrium, where I'm just like, oh, this is kind of crazy.
Yeah, man, I'll definitely, sounds like almost vertigo-ish.
Yeah, it could be something like that. I'm just getting old, man. I'm in my 30s now, dude, and it's like,
Nah, man, we're living the dream, bro.
Amen, brother. Amen. I want to ask you also about Florida. You honestly, like, so Orange County has been kind of different this whole pandemic, with gyms staying open and it's kind of, just living life. So I guess it wouldn't be that much of a change going to Florida. But was it different, the culture of going to, Miami and just seeing how people were compared to, if you go somewhere in California where they're in fear kind of?
A little bit, yeah, definitely, especially right now. The way I put it is that after we walked around for a little while, I said, you know what this is like? This is like if New York and Las Vegas had a baby and it lived at the beach. You know what I mean? So that's what I think is. It's like New York and Las Vegas had a baby, and then he moved to the beach, and his name was Miami. You know what I mean? And
dude, that's a great metaphor for
walking
Miami.
around. We got to stay in a nice hotel and everything. We got to go do everything. You know, it was awesome. Went to Versace's house for lunch, and
no way.
Got to see all that, man. Some beautiful artwork, mosaics everywhere. And you know, as you're just walking down South Beach, dude, swear to God, like I'm not really a cocaine guy or anything like that, but in my head I was like, this is cocaine cowboys. Like in my mind, in my blood, I was like, you need to be on cocaine to get the full thing of this city, you know. And then I told Laura about it. I was like, this is where cocaine cowboys happen. She was like, what? She's like, she didn't know nothing about the cocaine cowboys. I was like, oh man, I gotta school you up. But no, I didn't, you know, I don't do any of that stuff, but it was fun. You could see how it was built, the city, dude, you know what I mean? As far as like fast pace, everything's moving, but at the same time things are like luxurious and nice, you know. It's like a lot of things happening in that city all the time, you know.
Oh man.
But as far as the people, you're saying, like it seemed a little more chill. There's no one telling you put your mask on or anything, but it was also like the weeks during spring break too, you know. So it was popping. College kids popping off, you know, a bunch of stuff like that. But as far as like the day-to-day, a ton of Spanish culture. I mean, I'm sure I knew that there's a ton of Spanish people in Miami, but my girlfriend, all her parents speak Spanish. So I'm, you know, down there trying to pick up things here and there. And, you know, every cab driver, every Uber driver, you jump in, he's, you know, and once they speak Spanish to them, then they're like, oh, okay. You know, they kind of listen up, tell you everything, you know, and I honestly felt like I got the inside treat, you know, to see all the culture behind there. Went to Little Havana, dude, had some Cuban food. Ooh, it was so good, though. It was so good.
There's a lot of Cubans, a lot of Puerto Ricans down there. It's just the quickest play. Like you can literally see Cuba from the sand on
that's
Miami.
Wild.
Man. You could take a raft across.
That's what they're saying, man. That's wild, man.
Have you been back home at all during the pandemic at all?
At the very beginning of it, I went home for the longest I've been home in maybe 10 years, you know, since I left home at 17, 18 to live in the Olympic Training Center.
Yeah.
And it's been like 10 years. I stayed for 2 whole months, and I was like, man, this is the longest I've been home in a decade, you know? So it was really nice, man. We live out on 25 acres in North Carolina, you know, so we're kind of secluded, but damn, I got put to work, son. I was chopping trees, I was mowing the lawn, I was taking care of the horses. We were doing everything. So it was good though.
Doing those, what is it, Rocky IV Drago workouts, just chopping wood, running up hills.
That shit will make you strong. Yeah, running up hills will make you strong as hell. My coach Torres, he had some crazy training methods, man. Like he'd have us like chop down like a 6 foot, 8 foot log, you know, like this big around, not too crazy big. But then you'd have to put the log like in your bicep right here and throw it end over end, you know, so it does like a full flip. And then pick up the other side and then throw it back. So then it works on your underhooks for wrestling, you know what I mean? You gotta make us grab like the tire. You can grab like the tire of the, what am I trying to say? The car tire. And then you back arch it. So you're like suplexing the car tire. And he had one that had a rim in it. And that bitch was 250 pounds.
Jesus, man.
And we had all types of stuff we'd do. But that's as far as country training, man. They get you strong. So I try not to get too spoiled out here living on the beach. Just still try to go find something hard to do every once in a while, you know.
Dude, that's been the biggest thing moving to Texas is it feels, because I was born in California. You know, I lived in Puerto Rico for a bit, but I get spoiled with the weather in California. It's not real. There's really no weather. You know, the state almost burns down once a year. Yeah.
And even while it's burning, you don't really know until you see things that look like snow falling on your car, and you're like, what the hell? And you're like, oh, that's burnt trees. Like somewhere close to here, Armageddon's happening.
Yeah. Shout out to Laura in the back. Shout out.
Oh, yeah, she's coming in. She's almost done. She's on her way to practice. See you later, Smunch.
Adorable. Yeah, it moving here, I appreciate it so much because I get to like see real weather. And it makes you feel more alive. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Like crazy flooding, lightning storms, the thunder. And it's just like.
Dude, the thunder, man. I love a good thunderstorm. In the middle of North Carolina summer, you can almost bank 5 o'clock. You're going to hear, it's going to be beautiful, not a cloud in the sky. Then 5:30, It's going to roll in. You're just going to hear, and then somehow the bottom's going to drop out somewhere. You know what I mean?
Do you guys have fireflies there?
In North Carolina? Love it.
Yeah, do you have fireflies? Yeah.
It's magic. That shit shouldn't be real. Man. Do you have them in Texas?
Nah, that's the only thing I wish Texas had.
Man. Trade some of those wild boars for some fireflies.
Dude, yeah, we'll do a trade. We'll meet up and do it.
The thing about the weather, I think the most is that, especially when you're living at a place like that where it's not nice every day, like when you get a nice day, when you get a 75 and sunny like it is every single day in Southern California, like you get one of those days, you're like, oh, what are we going to do? Like, how are we going to take advantage of this? Like, are we going outside? Are we going to take a picnic? Are we going to go ride forward? What are we going to do, you know? And then vice versa, like if you're here, you're like, oh man, like let's go out and do this. And you're like, oh, maybe tomorrow, you know, like it'll be good tomorrow. You know, I'm always like, oh, it'll be okay tomorrow too, you know, and you just procrastinate, dude. Then before you know it, you lived here and you, for 3-4 years, you hadn't gone to the beach in, you know, months, maybe a year. So I try to go all the time. The dog helps me go all the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I take her to the beach all the time, but now I'm trying to get my water sports on, you know what I'm saying? I got my wetsuit. I need to get a board. I got like 2 or 3 jiu-jitsu guys that are like ready to teach me how to surf. And I'm like, I just need to nut up and do it, you know?
Yeah, man, do it.
I'm a white belt at surfing. I can paddle out pretty good.
You're going to take some wipeouts, man. You're going to get tapped out by the ocean. There's something to that, man. I love it. When you get the opportunity to learn something new and be a white belt at it and just completely re-engulf yourself in something brand new, I feel like it does something to your brain where it cleans up the wire where you're just like, now you're younger mentally again.
Man, I'll tell you, I feel that way right now with jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
It's been the craziest thing. I've been grappling since I was 13, been doing jiu-jitsu the last 5 years, just got my brown belt. But I just started training at AOJ recently. I started training at Art of Jiu-Jitsu with the Mendez brothers. And those killers they got over there, man. I walked in the first day, and, you know, we're drilling, we're doing competition class. And then I started realizing, I'm like, oh, y'all are doing a completely different thing. I'm like, y'all are doing a different sport. I'm like, all right, let me hone myself. Let me learn this shit. You know what I mean? Like, you know, the purple belts tap me. You know, the blue belts aren't tapping me, but they're giving me a fucking run for my money. Like, I'm not passing their guard. And, you know, it's like they know things I don't know. And, you know, so then because I've been teaching the last 4 years even jiu-jitsu, you know, so for beginner classes, things like that. And I've been competing at a high level, but really leaning on the wrestling background to get the competition done. Even my coaches would say, oh, just wrestle them, just use your wrestling. You know, you put your foot on the gas and just beat them. I'm like, but listen, guys, like I can do that. But then at some level, somebody's going to be just as good an athlete, just as good a wrestler. It's going to come down to who does jiu-jitsu better, you know, who's doing this. So being in those classes, man, and humbling and asking questions, grabbing a 16-year-old kid after practice and be, hey, man, can you show me this move that you were hitting? I saw it, you know what I mean? And like, just forget the ego, drop all that shit. Like, I need to get better type stuff, you know? And that's been literally my quality of life has improved since me just being able to have a little time to myself in the morning where I'm not in charge of the whole class. I'm not in charge of making sure everyone's safe and training. I only have to worry about myself, and I'm only worried about answering the questions I have. You know, so when a question arises now, it's like, okay, that's why I'm here today, to figure out this question. You know, you don't even know going in what's going to learn or what you're going to do. You just know that you're going to get a little better if you're, you know, focused. But man, like I said, having that beginner's mind and practicing, it literally will change your life, man. It'll make you a better person, you know.
How do you combat that ego to go back to square one when you walk around HBUTC, you're like the big ninja in charge. You're just like, and people know you from the gram. They're like, that's the guy from their Instagram page. How do you balance that where it's like, and how do you stop yourself from not representing that when you go somewhere else where you're just like, no, I don't know if you have that competitive side where you're just like, no, I can't let these people tap me. And, you know, like, I need to defend my own honor. How do you detach that? That's
a good question, man. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about it. And the only thing I can really think of is that you're two people, you know what I mean? You literally have to be two people. And one person is the best student, you know what I mean? Because you're not going to learn anything unless you're the best student. You got to be the best student. You got to be able to shut up, listen, take everything in, once you understand what they're trying to teach you, then ask questions and, you know, go from there and keep leveling up like that way. But you have to be a super humble student, lose 100 times, whatever, keep coming back, just unbreakable student, like just coachable. My coach would always preach about it. You got to be coachable. He's like, if somebody's teaching you something and all you say is, well, I already know how to do it this way, you know, in life, anything, you're, oh, I know how to do it, but I just do it this way. Instead of learning their way, and then you could choose which one you want to do. Some people are immediately like, nah, I already know a way. I don't need anything else, you know?
Yeah.
So the student part of you is here and he's learning everything he can. And then especially for competitor, like this might be good for life and general things, but when you're a competitor, when you have to compete and you have to have that competition side, there is no competition without the ego. The ego is what wants the competition. The ego wants to prove it's better than someone else and to be on the podium. That's why the podium is stacked, right? You're above everyone.
Yeah.
But they don't coexist, right? So like this little student who's like in the middle of competition and getting smashed, you can't say, oh man, that was really great. Like, good job. You know, whereas in training, sometimes I'll be getting my guard passed. And instead of being like, oh, fuck you, or I suck, you know, I'm like, oh, dude, look at that grip. I'm like, oh, that's how you pass my guard. Okay. Now, next time I'm not going to let that happen. So you're the student or you're over here. And when the ego, I call that my dog, but you got to let the dog out.
I like that.
I mean? And you have, everybody's got a little bit of it in them, and some people more than others, you know, and the competition comes out when you're that guy. Rampage. I spent a lot of time with Rampage Jackson, you know, and like a big bro kind of. And one of the things he always says, like, man, I'm not Rampage all the time. He said, I'm Quentin most of the time. You know what I mean? But when Rampage comes out, it's a different thing, you know, and that's really what it is. Cause you can't walk around the streets as Rampage. You can't go to practice and learn from your coach as Rampage. Yeah. You know what I mean? Cause Rampage wants to bite you in the neck, rip your fucking head off and, you know, and everything else. The same thing with Jesse. When Jesse's there, I got 1,000-yard stare. I'm cold. You know, I'm a fucking assassin. I'm not worried. I'm not happy. I'm not sad. I'm just there to compete, and I'm there to do what I, you know, put on a show and do what I love to do. And it's going to come at the cost of you losing. I'm sorry. That's just how it has to be, you know? But then when we walk in the room, I can come in, I can practice, I can do my things. Now in the room, in the practice room, maybe I have a roll or two and I'm like, all right, this guy's telling me, turn it on. All right. I feel good. I feel like I have a game that I want to play, and I'm going to flip the switch, you know? And then you play that game afterwards, shake hands, you flip the switch back off because you might need to learn something. You know what I mean? So that duality, I feel like, of being the best student and the humble student, asking the questions, and you don't care if people think you're good or whatever. And then at the same time, having that that switch you can flip where the dog comes out. And it don't matter if you've been doing this for decades longer than me. I don't care if you're a black belt. I don't care whatever. I don't care if you're a blue belt standing in front of me, but we're having a match and we're trying to go. Now the dog's out. Now I'm playing what I call my A game. You know what I mean? I'll never get good at anything else if I only play my A game all the time. But sometimes you need to forget all the other shit and be like, hey, the dog's coming out, one goal, let's win. Turn on the A game, let's play, you know?
I like that, man. That's huge. I asked that because there's so many parallels in life with competition. I feel like sports is the best vehicle for like leveling up at a young age for life. Like you get the most skills out of it that you can actually use in the real world. And something I've been trying to focus on, man, is I like call all your potential for a day your rocket fuel. And I feel, and it's something I think everybody does it, but I've been feeling like I've been wasting rocket fuel on distractions that don't matter. When you start having these arguments in your head, when you start doing these things that aren't getting you closer to your goals, it's like wasting rocket fuel on bullshit. Nothing that's getting you closer to your goals. And I like the duality of it, man. That's like a huge thing because it stops you from allowing your ego to even get involved in certain process, you know, when you're developing, no matter what you're doing, man. So I like that. I'm going to develop like split personality.
The split personality is huge and really huge, especially when I'm teaching the kids too, because the kids like, you know, I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be rough to this guy. And I'm like, you don't have to. You know what I mean? It's like you're not being mean to that person. You're just executing at 100%. And if they're not at 100%, then they might get hurt a little bit. But you know what I mean? But you have to be able to execute when it's time. Now, when you're playing with your friends in practice and it's your buddy and you want to just play around and roll before or after, no one's saying go out there and rip his head off. But know that you can turn that switch on. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of practice with flipping that switch, whether it's, for me, it's how you warm up, you know what I mean? And you'll see it at a high level is that they'll do the same warm up every time. So it's like progression, you know. You can watch the Mike Tyson clip, dude, of him, Mike Tyson, I am a god, you know, him walking to the ring and the thing that changes and how he does the same thing. He's, you know, he's like, first I'm scared, and it's not by the time I get in there. I'm a god. It's the same thing. Me. Exactly. It's the same thing in any competition, really. You have to slowly make that transition. And there's like cues, right? So certain cues, whether it's the way you warm up or a certain bounce you do or a certain, like, you know, thought that you have or a song, maybe you always listen to the same song, and it really changes your performance, like putting that mental out, you know. And I think about the rocket fuel, like you were saying. And dude, I think that's why I feel so damn good right now. You know, it's because I'm feeling happy that I'm getting scared sometimes. I'm having to confront, you know, the humanness and go to a different place, and it's not safe and it's not, you know what I mean, comfortable by any means, but you do it. And I used to have a problem with just waiting to work because I kind of fill my schedule up. I love my job. I love what I do. But at the same time, if there wasn't work, then I'm immediately like, oh, I need to wait until the next thing that's work. You know what I mean? So I need to don't go to the beach. Don't go out to lunch. Don't, you know, go to yoga class, even though you know you should, you know, or don't schedule an extra training. Like, just wait to work. Just wait because you have something in 3 hours. You know, that used to be my mentality. Like, 3 hours from now, you better not, you know, you got to wait till then. And I'm like, well, damn, I can do it. You know, then there's days where you do all the things, you use all your rocket fuel, and then you get to the session that you were previously resting for, and you're like, dude, I feel great. You're like, why am I always resting for this? Why am I always waiting? Yeah. And then it just rings in my head. One of the quotes I have on my wall up here says, laziness is just resting before you're tired. You know? So it's like laziness is just resting before you're tired. You could do the same thing that makes you lazy after you kicked ass all day and you're just resting. Yeah. You know, but if you do it before you get tired, now you're just being lazy, you know, and that really clicked for me, you know.
Do you have anything that is like, what's the way to say this? Like procrastinating. Like, is there anything that you have resistance with that you have to consciously stop yourself from falling into that pattern? Either it's a mindset, either it's something you put in the place of, like, for example, I have what I call like most valuable goals, and it's shit that I have to get done no matter what. And sometimes when I'm being a little bitch, I put tasks ahead of that I pretend are more of a priority to avoid having to engulf in those things that are the most important that I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah. Do you have anything like that? And do you have anything that you do to stop yourself from doing it?
That's a great question.
Welcome to Evan's self-help podcast.
For real, though. For real. Let's see. I read this one book. I think we talked about it a little bit, called Atomic Habits.
Oh yeah, I got that book, baby.
Yeah, did you? You get that one? That one was good.
Did I send that? Did I send you that one?
I think you sent. Did you send that to me, or I sent it to you? One of
us. Yeah.
To me. I think you sent it to me, and I checked it out. But that was a good one, man. That's as far as like how you make habits, how they compound on each other, and how, you know, doing something that you don't want. If you don't want to do something, then maybe doing something you do want to do before that leads into that. Yeah. You know, all types of stuff. It's a great book. But dude, your mind is strong, man. My mind, I'm a genius when I want to get out of something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
man.
I'm a fucking genius. I'm over here like, you know, I should stay and do this run, or I should stay and I should just stay and stretch. You know what I mean? Who knows? I should just stay for 20 minutes and stretch. And I'm like, oh, but the dog's been in the kennel for an hour and a half. I'm like, I need to let her out. Where the dog might have been in the kennel for 3 hours yesterday, you know, because I was doing something I want to do, you know, or whatever it is, you know. I'll start doing these mental gymnastics, like you say, of how to get out of it, you know, or just all types of stuff, man. And the only thing that really makes a difference for me, because something I want to do, I'll be stoked to go to practice. Yeah. Like, let's go to practice, you know, let's go. And then somehow, you know, say, well, this person needs me to help them do this or this, you know, and then I don't stick up for myself and say, hey man, I have to go do this right now. You know,
prioritizing yourself. Over
and I'm like, well, this, and I'll let it happen. You know, not even like I was so entrenched in helping the guy that I didn't go to practice. They'll be like, oh, well, you need my help, so I'm going to choose to not even tell you that I have somewhere to be right now and just allow this to take up my time, you know? So the only thing that really helps me is action. If I know I'm, and I get stuck there all the time, man. This is my number one thing, is getting paralyzed by options, paralyzed just by doing
paralysis
nothing.
by analysis, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Just sitting there thinking about, I could do this, or I could do that, or this or that, or maybe I'll save that for later and I'll do this first. And then you're just sitting there and you don't know what to do. You know what I mean? But if you just get one thing, like, I'll be like, oh, I need to wash clothes. Okay, need to wash clothes. Let's go do laundry right now. We'll figure out the next thing when that shit's done. You know what I mean? But I try to get this perfect schedule, and then you just blow it all up anyway. So
yeah, man,
action is the number one thing for me, and you're making me have to stick to it. I'm not here giving it away. So I'm like, Jesse.
Dude, that's why coaching is such a great thing. I coached high school swimming, club swimming. I coached boxing, and it made me such a better athlete because I would hold myself accountable to things I told other people to do. And that was the dumbest thing. If there's any swimmers, I would always I would tell them, take 2 strokes every time when you streamline, don't breathe off the wall. And still to this day, I don't allow myself to breathe off the wall if I'm swimming, where because I just like that little mental thing where I'm like, you're going to be a hypocrite. You're going to be a hypocrite if you do this. But yeah, man, I like that. Action is definitely the biggest thing, because you'll just spend 45 minutes wasting time not thinking just I should be doing this. But I forgot who said this quote, but it was a famous writer. I don't know if it was Hemingway, but he talked about how people only write when they're inspired to write. Lucky for me, I'm inspired every single morning at 8 a.m. So it's like you show up and you just start writing shit. You just do it. And then eventually you get the good stuff out of it. That's
the truth, man. That is the truth. And it's like they say, you build the good habit, and it gets easier and you get this and that. But I don't know if it gets easier or you just get better at calling yourself on your bullshit, like even not as much, I mean, a little bit here still, because dude, the AOJ practice, they start at 7 a.m. I'm not used to training at 7 a.m. So they go 7, 9, 10, or 7, 8, 9, 3 in a row. Comp class, technique, and then no-gi. So I've been doing that. It's not too bad, but at the same time, it reminds me so much of when I lived at the Olympic Training Center for wrestling. And I'd, be hard training, man, every day, training with the best in the world, the Jordan Burroughs, all these guys especially before London in 2012 when I was there.
Wow.
And it changed my life, dude, just seeing these guys train and how hard they would go, how much rocket fuel you could really have in a day. It kind of sets the bar where you're like, okay, you can get all this done and that done. You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, so I'm starting to see what the potential is. But I'd still wake up in the morning and do a full scan. Be like, am I hurt? Does anything hurt? And I'm like, oh man, nothing hurts. I'm like, well, damn. I'm like, am I sick? I'm like, it's trying to cough, trying to have some sniffles or something. I'm like, man, I'm not sick. I'm not hurt. I'm not sick. I think I gotta go. And this is every morning, dude. Like, you should know. You just get up, put your shoes on, but at the same time, your body's like, hold on. Can we just stay today? And then before you know it, you're down. And the wrestling room was only 50 yards away. It's not like you even had to get in the car and go. You just had to walk down there. And but every morning, man, I wake up and say, damn, am I hurt? Am I sick? Damn, I gotta go. Okay. But the thing that helps is knowing that there's other people going to be there. You know what I mean? That your team's going to be there. And that if you're not there, they're going to learn something you didn't know, or they're going to get a little better. Yeah. And that's what's helping me now is, it's early, but all those guys are there, man. They're ready to train. Whereas if I'm the one putting the practice together, or there's 1 or 2 guys coming in to learn from me, and then I'm like, well, I'm not really feel like doing this today, then I could cancel it. I can get out anytime I want, know, and nothing happens to me because nobody trained, you know what I mean? If anything, I made them worse. Yeah. So it's like finding that action and finding that reason why, even though you go through the checklist every day,
Have you ever seen, I forgot his name. I'm drawing a blank. He was in that show Kingdom.
He trains out of HB, you talking about?
Oh,
you talking about Juan?
No.
Juan's in that show. Juan Archuleta, he's in Kingdom.
Oh, really? Yeah, I know they use a lot of MMA fighters. Shit, he's like the main actor. He was also in Marvel.
I don't know. I haven't seen the show, to be honest with you. I just heard about it.
His name was like Scroll. Anyway, he had this great thing. He's in phenomenal shape. Older guy, probably close to 50s, and phenomenal shape, always working out, doing movies. And he had this great thing, and I brought it into my own life, is he would talk about the way that he gets so much done is as soon as his alarm goes off in the morning, his feet go to the floor. There's zero, I'm going to just lay here for a couple minutes. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to press the snooze. He doesn't even have those conversations because, like you said, you're a genius. You'll talk yourself out of it. And I started bringing that into my life because I'm like, oh, there's 7 minutes. I just got back, and now I'm starting my day 7 minutes earlier, you know? Yeah. And I do that a lot because, and that's a thing that like people don't get. A lot of people who make excuses and stuff for what they're doing, they don't get that everybody feels the way that they feel. I love fucking cheesy bread. Cheese stuffed crust and pizza, man. I could just take a gallon of blue cheese and eat a whole pizza with it. But I don't because I'm like...
Blue cheese over ranch?
I go back and forth, man, to be honest with you.
Okay. But always bone though, right? Are you
always bone in, baby. Always. Boneless are an abomination to our culture and our species, and it's probably why we're still only on one planet, to be honest with you.
Dude.
If we didn't have boneless wings, we probably wouldn't be on TikTok. We would be like everybody would be scientists. But it's just diluted our culture and our potential, to be honest with you, man.
That's the real pandemic, all right?
Yeah. Dude, we're going to get lost in this rabbit hole. But the one thing that no one talked about with the pandemic was to eat better, was to boost your immune system. Everybody was just like, oh, we need to hide. Like COVID was around the corner. But they did nothing to tell people how to actually fight COVID. They were just like, yeah, just stay inside. You know, here's Uber Eats discounts, you know, be a hero, stay home. But it's like they didn't press anything about working out. They closed the gyms, which was the dumbest idea.
Tried to close the beach here. They had a whole riot about that. You know, Huntington Beach came out 1,000 strong. They're like, yeah, you're not shutting the beach, dude.
Oh, I watched the videos. Dude, the thing is they get the most inarticulate people to talk to the reporters.
Oh my God.
Because I would watch the interviews and I'm like, oh, they just got anybody with a Trump sign. They were like, let's interview that person right now. And it would make the whole cause, that was the poster child of the whole movement, was just that.
Yeah.
It was good though. Yeah, man. And that's the thing is,
there's one thing about I was going to piggyback off here, just keeping your feet moving right away. And I fall into these, I don't want to say traps, but kind of like these ruts that are like the same, you know, and one of them is that I'm on fire. I'm doing everything. I'm up at 7, whatever, knocking out everything. And I'm on top of my game. And maybe it's a week, maybe it's a couple of days, maybe it's a week, maybe it's 2 weeks. But then there will come a time that it will all crash because there was something in that of me action, that maybe I wasn't taking consideration of maybe my mental health or maybe my sleep, or you know what I mean? Or it's like where you're doing something so good, but then when you look back, you're like, oh yeah, I haven't been taking my supplements for 2 weeks, or I haven't been, you know, I cut that extra hour of sleep out, but I didn't add it in anywhere else, you know, and then things like that. So it's like, there are times where I'm doing everything good, and then I'll find one thing that I was like, that should fit in there, but it's not. And then it'll cause the whole thing to kind of come down, you know what I mean? And then vice versa. If everything's in fucking shambles for a week and I feel like I can't do anything, you know, sometimes just doing one thing sparks it back up. You know, sometimes just doing one thing that you want to do. Oh, I want to go take her bike ride. Oh, you take that bike ride, and then you come home. And, I should clean this room up, and this and that, and just little at a time. But yeah, it's about finding that one thing, because sometimes action, for me, sometimes I hide in the action. You know what I mean? So if there's something that's bothering me, or maybe especially most grieving more than anything, it's like lost, some close people to me, and I'll be so busy that then I'll get by myself or something, and the stimulation will stop. And then without even knowing it, I'm crying, you know what I mean? Or I'm like broke down, and I'm like, well, damn, where'd this come from? And it's like, well, you could have thought about it a little every day, or a little, when you have time, or here and there. But instead you just shut it out, for 2 weeks. And now you're getting hit with that 2-week rebound of not, taking care of yourself, or, think of it like an injury almost. Like if every time you train, your shoulder's sore, and you didn't foam roll it, you didn't massage, you didn't get anything done, you just kept pushing, because you're supposed to be training, and you felt good from training, and then you hit that 2 weeks. And it doesn't have to be an injury. It could be mental, spiritual, emotional. It's about finding that balance for me. It's like, that's the hardest part.
I think you're 100% right, man. And that's the huge thing, is balance, because I'll do the same thing where I'll just redline it. I'll have a great Monday. I'll do a podcast. I'll do stand-up. I'll work out. I'll run my business. I'll do this. And I'll just fill up my entire day. Tuesday will come around. I'm like, well, let's keep this momentum going. And then by Thursday, I'm sick in bed with a sinus infection because I just redlined it. And just like, I didn't balance out how I was going to do things. And that's a huge thing, man. And I think too much in our culture or society, we've totally overlooked it. Like, even if we just look at an athlete, most coaches will say the biggest, most important part is recovery. We completely, if we're looking at society as an athlete, we completely overlook recovery in the sense of mental health, especially for men.
And then we pride yourself on being tired. You know what I mean? Everyone you ask, how you doing, man? How's work? Man, I'm a little tired, but you think you equate being tired to like, oh, he worked hard. You know what I mean? But maybe you could work hard and not be tired. You could work hard and still be ready to go if you, like I said, you took care of the sleep, you took care of this, you were doing the extra a little bit. And then, vice versa. If it's like someone who's just that main thing, like I see it all the time, man. Like, damn well, you could have done way more today. But since you went, not even more, you could have had a more meaningful existence today. You could have done some things you really love to do. But instead, you just do this random thing, whether hopefully you like your job. But if you don't, maybe you're just sitting at your job for 8 hours and then you're tired. Right. Yeah. So now instead of being lazy, you're not lazy, you're tired. So now you can just rest. But you got tired from doing something you hated to do. Yeah. So now all you're doing is doing shit that you hate and then resting and then waiting to do something that you hate again. You know what I mean? And you just get lost in this. There's a beautiful life out here. You know what I mean? And that's what I try to get lost in, is that I got the chance to do things I love to do, burn my rocket fuel on things that matter. Yeah. And then if you got to take a day, you can take a day. You don't have to be. Yeah. I can feel that in our society, especially in the South where I'm from, man. People pride themselves. Oh man, I'm tired. I ain't going to do that. I got to work on Monday. You know what I mean? I hear it all the time, just waiting to work, I said, I was doing too,
I think it's a big thing, man, especially, I feel like obviously, everybody hates when men like try to stick up for other men. In our society, but I feel like
Rose
there is
before hose, yo.
Yeah, amen, brother. It is a weird thing because men aren't allowed to have emotions. Men aren't allowed to cry. They're not allowed to grieve. A man just sucks it up and he keeps moving forward. He provides and he does what needs to be done. And in reality, that's not sustainable. And what that does is it feeds a culture of making people do what they don't want to do, not be selfish. A man's supposed to do this and he's supposed to provide and do all this. By any means necessary. And there's truth in that if you have a family, you do need to provide, but there also is truth in like, okay, you can find a better way to do that. That's making yourself happy. And like you're saying, you're not going to a job that you hate and you're doing these things. And I feel like there's this whole culture around social media where everything is a grind. Everything is stunting. Everything is flexing. Everything is showing why you're working harder than someone else and all of this stuff. But it's like, dude, people will post these grind pictures and this hustle and everything and then go fucking take a bubble bath for 4 hours for all you know. Like it's not real.
Easy. The thing about social media is, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, go for it.
It's just like, it's a highlight, right? Anyone can look good in a highlight. You can take the shittiest boxer, fighter, whoever, you put a highlight of them landing some crosses on the pads. They look good. You know what I mean? Anybody can look good if you nitpick exactly where you're
speed it up 1.3 times the speed just to give him an edge. You can't completely tell. He just looks fast as fuck, boy. Yeah, man. And that's the thing, is it is a highlight. But people spend, I saw a statistic today that people spend up to 12 hours a day. It's like 9 to 10 hours on average consuming entertainment and stuff through their phone. 9 to 10 hours. So that's podcasts, that's videos, that's social media.
I was going to say that sounds like a lot until I think about how long the podcast is just running in the background while I'm doing shit. And
I'll catch myself, man. Because I'll tell myself I'm doing something else. I'm working, I'm doing these mindless tasks, but my brain is going. And there's a direct correlation to that with causing burnout, mental fatigue, anxiety, because while you think it's mindless stuff, your brain has to constantly be working, and you're not getting your brain recovery. Like you're just constantly exhausting it. But the point I was making was, when we're seeing all these highlights all day long, every day, constantly, oh, this amazing athlete, oh, this amazing athlete, oh, this influencer, oh, this comedian just put out this special, put out this clip, you start forgetting that it's all highlights because that's all you see. So then you start thinking that's everybody's regular life, And then don't get me started on the algorithm of the Explore page, all right? It's just, it literally concocts something just to keep you on it for as long as possible. And it's just, I don't know, man. I always toy around with the idea of just not being on social media, because I'm like, or at least a very strict balance, because I just don't think it's healthy. I gotta
get that strict balance too. But then there's some ways that it helps a lot, as far as just for me, like the community, and especially the training partners and things like that. There'll be times all the time somebody hit me, hey, come train with me, or hey, come teach me a private lesson, come do this. And that happens time to time, but it's way outweighed by the time wasting, like you said. So it's got to be a balance between doing those two things and letting it work for you. But yeah, I think with my head a lot too, my brain, especially before counter strain. Even now, if I'm in like a loud place, like I can't really go see like live music or go to a concert like that. Maybe like it's the time of my fucking life for 30 minutes, you know what I mean? And then I'm like, all right, we got to get out of here right now. Like, it's not even like, okay, like I'm ready to leave. It's like I hit a line and it's like your brain needs out of here right now, or something bad's going to happen. Like you just start panicking, you know what I mean? Like you can just feel the wires like crossing, too much, Yeah. And then I think about that with my podcast and stuff too, because if I'm not in like a place like that, but maybe I was at the gym or I was teaching, there's a lot of like I'm talking almost the whole time I'm teaching, especially to the kids. You're like, hey, come over here, hey, quick, climb on that. You're getting them everywhere. And then I'll come home and maybe be texting somebody, or even playing chess. I like to play chess on my phone all the time, and sometimes I'll play chess and I'll still have the podcast running in the background, and I'm not listening to a word they say, and it's uncomfortable. Like it's not even enjoyable, but it's almost like a part of me wants that overstimulation just to like run it into the ground. It's a weird thing. You know what I mean? Like I could like, if I was in the gym, I got to do it anyway. I have to put up with the noise, whatever. But now I'm out of the gym. I'm quiet. I could be sitting in a perfect Zen bubble, just recovering and relaxing. But now I'm just adding somebody talking, two people talking. I'm not even listening, and I'm doing something else. All at the same time, your body's like, let me just make sure he's just overloaded and can't think for himself right now. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I feel about it. Yeah. But I still do it to myself sometimes,
I hear you, man. I'm like, Evan, why do you have 15 tabs of porn open right now that no one can ever, you got, a podcast to do with Jesse in 10 minutes. Yeah, man. There is something to that, because I catch myself with a podcast, with a video, and then I'm trying to work. And then there'll be times when I'm working where if I'm like having to write something, I'm like, this is completely distracting me. And like, it's so much input. And then it's getting to a point where it's like, I think it's the same thing with like bad food. You get addicted to the dopamine of eating out and getting fucking cheesy bread. And it's just like, you know, it's not good for you. Your body knows it's not good for you, but it's getting this diet life rush of dopamine from it. So it's all it knows. This is the only stimulant that you've been giving it. And I think there's something with like the overload of information and dopamine, because, you know, from the phone, from the podcast, from everything, I'm like pushing podcast listeners away. They're like, I can't listen to podcasts anymore. There's something with that to where your body, it needs it. It gets addicted to it, but it doesn't necessarily like it. It's not good for you, but it's just like, this is
I
what
think
we
it's like
do.
hitting on like things that are good for us, right? You know, like it plays off of like your need to get some information, your need to like pick up like a small detail that could like help your survival, like from two people like overhearing something. And then it's like mixed in with the fact that there's too many people in a lot of places, like Joe Rogan always talks about, you know, people become a nuisance, you know what I mean? It's like they become like a nuisance, you know, when you're around, especially in the city, like, you know, you're in Southern California all the time, you sit in traffic, you're like, fuck all these people, you know, you just get so mad. But if you're like, and then it's the opposite in North Carolina almost sometimes, not all of it, but like where I'm from in the sticks, like you might stumble upon this guy that works on his farm or whatever, and he will sit there and talk to you for 2 hours just because he hadn't talked to nobody in a while. Like he's got some things to talk about. Like it's a nice thing to happen, you know what I mean? And I'm getting a little bit of that here by going to the dog beach in the morning. And I've met a few friends that are like my boys now, you know, and then they're older, they're grown, they all came through, you know, and I'll go down there and I feel like a local. I'll sit down there with my coffee. I mean, I've been living here for 5 years, but it just feels something right about just going to a place, no like predetermined, I'm going to be here at this time or this and that. You can just run into somebody, you know, and then running into them turns into a 20, 30 hour long conversation, you know, and you make it through a couple like awkward silences where you're just, you know, sitting there like, you know, and you don't, because, you know, I catch myself all the time, be talking to somebody, and then I'm like just looking for the first out. I'm like, you don't know how much stuff I have to do. I got to go right now. Like, okay, is that all right? Bye. And then they'll say something, and then I'll end up saying bye 3 times. And I'm like, man, I'm a real asshole. Like I've been trying to get out of this conversation for 10 minutes instead of just listening to what he had to say, you know. And then it's just kind of where they catch you at. Are you in like local mood where you got your coffee and you're ready to chop it up and, you know, whatever happens, or are you like on the go right now and everyone in your way, you just like get out of the way, please.
Dude, I love those conversations. It's almost like therapeutic to where you like, I think obviously we have primal needs, and that's why it feels so good.
What it was playing off of. I don't mean to talk over you. I think but that's what I was trying to say in that long drawn out thing, is that's what the social media is like hitting on. That's why everybody loves it, because you know, you love a good conversation. You like to find someone and talk to them and learn something new. You know, you just think you're getting that while you're scrolling.
Yeah, you know? It's not that at all. It's like it's like a weird aspartame or whatever that fake sugar is version of it.
Oh, aspartame,
aspartame, dog.
Oh, dude, that's hilarious. That's usually me, dude. That's me. I say
aspartame, dog.
Aspartame.
That's what I'm gonna start calling it. I knew I was like, it's either aspartame or aspartame, and I know I mix them up. But I appreciate that. Homeschooled, thank you.
That's a good.
But that's why it feels so good to like catch a fish. I feel like it's like that tapping into that hunter gatherer, you know. That's why it feels so good to stare up at the stars when you're camping, and why you can actually go to bed on a reasonable time when you're camping, because you're not having all these like, you know, inputs. And I feel like that's what conversations are, when you actually are like, dude, my favorite thing used to be like sitting in the sauna with old men, as weird as that sounds.
No,
and just talking about life. because they're still tapped into that frequency before social media of being able to actually have a connection. And it's the same thing as like how validated or rewarded you feel when you have a real conversation with someone versus when you're talking to someone who you know they don't give a shit about what you're saying and they're just waiting for their turn to talk. Like that's the worst, when people are just like, yeah, you know, they're not really making connection. They just want to talk and you're like, you're not even here for this. You're just using me to vomit on me verbally. Yeah. And I feel like that is, yeah, man, that's something that we all want, but we don't get it from social media.
Absolutely, man. And that's like, that's where you see it. I see it a lot just from the two, because there's two totally different paces of life. Like I'm sure you're seeing in Texas, man. It's like just out here, everyone's moved. I think they even did a study. I don't know who did the study, but I just heard this somewhere in my life, but that there's a correlation to how fast people walk in the city and the population of that city. So like the more people there are, the faster people will walk down the street, the faster everything's getting done, you know? So then I go to Trinity, North Carolina, shout out the 336, you know what I'm saying?
Oh shit.
Yeah. That's it right there. But yeah, in Trinity, man, you might, you know, even I almost have to get good at telling people bye. You know what I mean? Like they say, there's a saying too. It's like, I don't know if people say it otherwhere, but they say, well, let me let you go now, you know? So let me let you go. You know? And that's just basically like say, well, all right, well, I'm going to leave now the nicest way you can, you know? Or I'll say, well, all right, y'all, I'll holler at you later. You know, it's like, oh, you got all these little exits because man, they really will talk to you all day. And it's not a bad thing, you know what I mean? That by any means, but sometimes you got some shit to do. But if you don't, you can sit there and talk to them for a half hour. You feel better about it, I think, anyway. You know?
Yeah, man. There is 100% a connection with how big a population is versus how much people actually care about other people. And I think you see it in traffic. You see it in big cities where there's just too many people. And then when you get to a place like, is it North Carolina?
Yeah.
North Carolina, shout out.
Shout out.
There's less people. You stop in to get gas somewhere, you know, some one pump place, and they're like, well, hey, where you come from? You know, they just are they're not just in a rush to like, what pump? You know, kind of like that. We just appreciate people when they're in scarcity, you know, and
definitely.
That's why I think trolls and everything are weird online. You know, people who just talk shit. It's because I'm like, oh, you don't value people because you don't see this as real. You know, there's just too much.
Dude, I tell you, I mean, I don't know if this has much to do with it, but I've recently, I never was bad at road rage, you know, but recently I've stopped egging on people that do have road rage, which used to be my thing. It's like, once I knew you're a little mad, I was going to fucking get you, dude. I was going to just make you the maddest you've ever been in your life, you know? And I was with my girlfriend. We were down in San Clemente, and I'm just pulling out the spot or whatever, and the guy cuts me off. He goes flying by. You laying on his horn in this truck, and I'm in her little Prius, you know what I mean? They're just buzzing around. And this guy just starts going nuts, man. And, you know, so he's like slamming on his brakes while I'm behind him and just doing all this reckless stuff. And instead of just getting away from him and stopping the situation, I'm egging it on. I'm like blowing him kisses in the mirror, you know, and like, he's like, pull over. And I'm like, yeah, pull over. You know, and then he pulls over and I just keep going and just start laughing at him. And then he comes flying up behind me, hawks a giant loogie right on the window. Spits on the window. It's like, pull over, get out. And I'm like, damn, I was like, am I gonna have to whoop this guy? I'm like, I don't want to. I'm like, I kind of started it. I'm like, you know, he got really mad. You know, I was like, I don't want to do that, man. I don't want to hurt anybody. You know, that's me. I don't want to hurt. And then he's like, you and your faggot Prius, you know, and he's just screaming at me and just yelling and then Laura's kind of getting a little nervous, I could tell. And I'm like, what are you nervous for? You know, this and that. And she's like, look at him, he's mad. She was like, and then she said something that just got me out of it right there. I was just laughing, kidding on, egging him on. She's like, what if I'm here one day and you're not in the car? And he sees my car and remembers it. And I was like, oh. I was like, now that's a different thing. And I almost like had to eat my words, and I was like, oh damn, like I shouldn't put you in those situations, you know, where he's going to come back and get mad. But it was fun for me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's fun. I always do it. But then now I think I'm like,
so you're saying you're a troll is what you're saying, Jesse. You're a lot.
That's where troll comes to light in my life. You know, I feel like everyone has a little something there, like, you know, that's your dirty pleasure. Like you get on there and you comment some mean shit, you know, but that's never been me, even, you know, anything. I've never done that. But yeah, if somebody's already mad, I'll poke them a little bit. I see it, especially driving, dude. It's, you know, people get mad as hell driving. You know, somebody will honk the horn at me, you know, at a green light because I didn't go fast enough. I'll sit there the whole light. You know,
really?
Just do something just to see how much I could get them out. You know what I mean? Because you know where your limit is. You're like, well, I know if it goes down to it, I'm ready to scrap, you know? It's like, I don't want to scrap. Like when it came time for that guy, I was like, this isn't worth it. But most people, they don't even know what it's like to get there, like mad enough to fight, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, you know, you just skip the mad part. For me, I'm just like, oh, are we going to fight? That's like the highest it can go. Is that what's going to happen? Or, you know, so it's like, you want to just open my eyes a lot. So yeah, no more trolling for Jesse. Behind the car or behind the computer.
I think that's also interesting with people with road rage is those people would never act like that if they knew there was consequences for their actions. Every now and then you get a guy like the guy who actually does want to pull over.
Yeah.
But he's not even mad at you. Someone who acts like that is mad at life, where it's just like, now I just finally get to release this all. But like, people will do things during road rage and drive by and flip you off and do all this shit. And you're just like, you would never do this if we were just in a parking lot and you thought there was actual consequences for this. Yeah. And sometimes when you just keep your car there and you call their bluff, where you're like, okay, you want to honk at me? I'm just not going to move right now. Let's see what level you want to go to.
That's what I was, 100%.
Dude, and sometimes that's just like, this is reality. This is what happens when you try to bully everyone. So basically, I'm spinning this into an anti-bully campaign of why you troll people with road rage.
Really?
But yeah, man, that's hilarious. Is there anything you would like to talk about on the podcast before we call this one?
Oh man, I don't know. It's always good. I could talk to you all day. Like I said, let's see. Tell me a little about Texas, man. What's an average day in Texas for the Evan?
Well, for me, my average day is I wake up, you know, I journal, I read my book. Right now, I'm reading a book called Mastery. I don't know if you've shit, dog. That's the same one right there, baby. I've been reading that one. I read it every morning. Just, you know, always trying to improve. And
dude, that one's good, man. I like it when they have short stories. You know what I mean? I like to learn little from short stories and things like that.
Yeah, even from Charles Darwin, Leonardo da Vinci, just some of the things that's what is beautiful about the time we live in, is you get the opportunity to see a story from start to finish with someone's life and cause and effect of results of actions they take. Because it's a beautiful thing to be able to look at someone's life and choices and things they were into as a kid, how it reflected in their career choice and what they ended up doing with it based off, like, that's an amazing thing to see a full story play out from a lifetime.
Dude, it gives me chills because I try to think of my life like that as much as I can, man. Is that it's becoming a thing bigger than me, hopefully, you know. And one of my friends, Jeff Glossner, he's a great MMA
shout out,
fighter.
Great hands,
dude, beast. He's a beast. So he's going to be doing some big things. And he actually just posted a quote the other day. We had a little conversation about it, and I want to make sure I get it right. It said, "Make sacrifices for the things that you love, or the things that you love will become the sacrifices."
Yeah.
You know, I was like, it's something to that effect, but basically like sacrifice now for the things you want, or later down the line, the things that you want will become a sacrifice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
that shit hit me hard. You know what I mean? I get this thing called my feeling. Like I get these little tingles all over my body when I hear something important. And I swear it's like the universe playing a video game, you know, like listen, this is one's important. I get this tingle all over my feeling. Like, okay, I don't know what it is, but whatever this is, I need to be hyper focused right now because they're trying to give me a hint, you know, and my dumb ass is just being too thick to realize it, you know?
That is huge, man. And what's dope is I started off doing music, you know. It started off with like poetry when I was like 15, 14. I wrote a diss song about Eminem when I was like 10 years old. He never replied. I don't know if he ever saw it. And then it constantly evolved from like poetry into hip hop, into like I got into filmmaking, now doing comedy and podcasting and like creative stuff, and it keeps evolving. And thinking about the book Mastery in like my own life, I'm nowhere near the master, but like everything I do, small actions every day, I'm trying to get to whatever the version of myself is in the future of mastery. It's not going to be in one discipline. I just don't think I'm that guy where it's like, I'm going to just be the greatest comedian of all time. Like that's not my focus. It's like a mixed outlet is like what I think I am.
Being the best you. That's
trying, man.
It's cliche, dude. It's cliche, but at the end of the day, it's literally some things that you do better than everybody without even trying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What makes you you.
And that's a huge thing of like being authentic and just trying to blaze your own path. And it's like, it doesn't have to be like when people are like, oh, I need to blaze my own path. I feel like there's so many walks of life where things kind of repeat in different ways, but they're unique to you, but there's blueprints and you're never going to be completely original, you know, because we all learn from people. We're apprentices.
We're all just stealing other people's ideas anyway.
Yeah.
Incorporating is a better word, but stealing.
Yeah, incorporating. Being inspired by. But that's something that's been pretty cool to get to where I'm at now. And like I said, nowhere near the master point. But I'm at a point in my life where like I'm able to support myself on things I enjoy doing. My business is able to support me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until recent years that was able to happen, you know?
It's a huge benchmark, man. Yeah. Living what you love, you know? And
it has been the biggest relief to me to reach that point. And it's been like I'm saying, like I started first doing music, like with a serious, like I want to do something creative with my life at like 18 while I was still in nursing school. And doing that for probably, I want to say at least 10 years without seeing any slight like sign of success in any creative outlet, where it was like, I didn't really see anything with music, wasn't catching traction. Video production wasn't catching traction. And it wasn't until, I think my business started doing good around the time I met you in Huntington is when I first started like, oh wow, I'm getting clients and this is actually becoming something. But it is cool to see. And that's why like I always love talking to people who are creative and like people who are on their own path. And like, I don't think of myself as an example. Be like, you should try to be like me. But like, it works out, you know, like as long as people stay on the path, man, it works out in some way.
And it's your path though too, right? Because if I try to walk your path, maybe every single one of those days is shit. I'm like, dude, this is hard. This sucks. Like we've been doing this for 10 years and we haven't got any better. You know what I mean? Like you said, or haven't seen anything from it. And that's how I feel a lot about like coaching and doing jiu-jitsu and things like that and wrestling. And dude, I love it, man. It's like, I got out. I used to tell myself all the time when I was a kid in high school, I say, my goal is to never have a real job. I would say that all the time. I say, my goal is never have a real job. I'm trying to wrestle my whole life, you know, and that's where I'm at right now. You know, it's thanks for my coaches and my career and things like that. I make a living doing what I love, you know, and sometimes you get jealous, or you get not jealous, but if the ego slips in it, I guess it is a little jealousy, you know, somebody else coming in and they're doing what you're doing, or you see another coach, trainer, or you see another podcaster and you're some of you want to be like, oh man, they're doing just as good or better, or am I better than them, or this and that. And you're like, well, no, I'm just me, man. Like, you know, but I love this shit. So if you're going to try to walk I say the same thing all the time. Like, if you're going to try to walk my path, you know, whoever it is, I was like, it's going to be hard for you, man, because you don't love it like I do. You know, you don't love showing up and coming to kids class and then going to this and then going to that. You know, it's like, I love it. You know, it's like the same time when you're coming here, you're editing, you're talking to people, you're doing this. I might be overwhelmed and be like, dude, this is a lot, you know, but you're like, bro, I love it. I love to wake up, journal, do my thing, do my podcast, you know? So it's like, no one can keep up with you on your own path. You know what I mean? It's when you're trying to do something that's not you. It's where you find so much resistance, I feel like.
Yeah, 100%, man. And that's the beauty of it is getting to do something where, like, that's what the schedule should be for people. Daily life. Like, I hate seeing, and there's a lot of people, like, you know, early on, people tell me like what I was doing was dumb. You're never going to make money at that. And it's like, if you say on paper, I just want to wrestle for the rest of my life, people are going to be like, well, how are you going to make money? How are you going to have a mortgage? How are you going to do this? And it's going to be like, you know, the picture you're painting. You're like, yeah, it's possible. There's plenty of people doing it. You just don't see that. And a lot of people fall off the path. And that's a lot what I saw is a lot of people who were into similar things as me, you know, early 20s, didn't see it for themselves. And then they would move into some career that was kind of low hanging fruit where it was like, oh, I can get a salary and I can start living this life and I can, you know, I don't have to deal with people's expectations and pressure. And then now they're at a point where they're like 10 years in deep to a job that they hate, you know, and they're stuck because they, you know, if they have kids or a mortgage and it's just like, fuck. And that's the biggest thing I think is filling up your day with things you enjoy doing, because eventually it'll pay off. You know, it's that compound interest, dog, you know?
I used to have this, I think I might have said it our very first time, but I used to have this thing I would run everything through when we first came out here. And it would be like, if money didn't exist, what would I be doing right now? You know what I mean? Because I'd find it so much. When we first moved here, we were sleeping in a 4 wide in the floor of one bedroom, just 4 guys, just shoulder to shoulder, no pillows, no blankets, just crashed out. You know what I mean? And then eventually moved into the garage. I slept in a hammock for months, you know, and like, it was it's a real grind. That's going to be in the movie one day. You know?
Hell yeah.
But we'd always get caught up in like, damn, I don't have no money to do this. I don't have money to do that. I can't even get a ride to go to this place to do the thing that I want to do, you know? So then we came up with, you know, if money wasn't real, what would you do? You know, and then it started living life by that. And, you know, so I would say all the time, like, well, if money wasn't a thing, I'd still probably show up to the gym around 9 or 10. I'd probably do my training. I'd probably like to help somebody else, you know, if they had something to do, or like if they needed help training, I'd come in and teach kids class. You know, I'd go to the yoga on the beach. I'd go, you know, eat good food with my friends. You know, I'd go meet somebody for coffee, you know, things like that. And try to build my life like that, you know. And then now it's kind of like that, you know, like sometimes I go through the whole week and I might have worked 14 hours a day, you know what I mean, on the mat, like actively on the mat, on your feet for 14 hours. And then you get off the mat and you're like, damn, dude, I got paid for that. You're like, holy shit, like this is my job. You're like, then it just gives you a breath of fresh air. You're like, you know, like, okay, you know, because I've been the other guy, dude. I used to work concrete as a 13-year-old, man. I was doing concrete. That's how I got so strong, man. I swear. My stepdad had a concrete business. I would do concrete every summer, all summer. And then my mom said, well, if nothing else, you know that doing this will just let you know that you don't want to do this the rest of your life.
Those are wise words.
Super wise, you know. So you try to live like money's not a thing. And then the other thing is, when you need to make money, the other thing that got us through, me and my boy Danny Wayward and Skylar Hicks, all of us, man, Dakota Trom. Yeah, all of us. We would come out when we were here. It was us 4. That was our group, man. Yeah. And we would always say to each other whenever somebody got down, say, making money's easy. And we say it all the time, making money's easy. So it was like a thing in our house. Like you didn't come in and bitch about like, oh man, like I can't even go. God, I can't get this. I can't get that. I don't have any money. You're like, well, dog, making money's easy. Go do something to make some money. You know what I mean? Like whatever, like we just changed the mindset instead of always being put down. Like you don't have enough. You don't have enough. If you just switch the mindset, like making money's easy. I make money easily, you know, and then it just started happening. It's like a cheat code, you know?
That's it, man. Perspective is everything. Yeah, man. But Jesse, thank you for coming on the podcast, man. It's been great.
Oh yeah, man. Always, dude. Sorry I talk so damn much. I need to learn how to listen a little more.
Nah, man, you did great. You know, part of the reason I had you on, man, people are sick of hearing me. You know, they've had more than 7 minutes in Evan. And
before we head off though, let me ask you. Are you into the barbecue scene out there? Are you getting into it, dude?
Dog,
are you a connoisseur now?
I am. The best brisket I've ever had in my life, Black's Barbecue. Okay. I just didn't know brisket could taste like that, you know.
Bro. I'm a bigger brisket fan than a true barbecue fan. I'm not a huge pork guy, but some barbecue brisket, shoot, yeah, let's go,
dog. I didn't know brisket could taste like that, and the sensations it gave me when it hit my mouth. It was like it melted in my mouth. The crust of it was phenomenal. The flavor, it was like a full body experience. Yeah, the beans, the mashed potatoes, I'm not even a huge potato salad guy. Potato salad's amazing.
Dude, nice. Do you have any collard greens out there or not really?
I haven't had any. I had green beans, but I'm sure they do. Yeah, man, the food out here is just phenomenal, you know?
I bet you got right there in the melting pot, dude. You got a little bit of everything, the best of everything.
Yeah, man.
They have Mexican food there too? Not really.
Yeah, I just found this place, shout out Casa Garcia's, the best chili de relleno I've ever had in my life.
Oh, that's some big boots to step in right there.
Yeah, man. Things just, you know, they move a little bit slower here, and I'm good with it, you know?
Hey, man, I'm going to have to come visit you, dude. I have to do the next 100%. One in person.
Yeah, man.
You got 2 chairs in that spot?
Well, we're going to be in this apartment till December when we have a house in December. It's being built right now. So we're going to be in the house, and one of the rooms is going to be
building the house.
You know how we do that?
Yeah, dab on him on that.
Dab on him.
I need a picture of you with some blueprints and hard hat and just calling the shots out there.
I'm gonna be like with the shovel doing the first dig.
You're breaking ground.
Yeah, but I'm gonna have building the podcast studio in there. And all that means is I'm just turning a spare room into a podcasting room. So
sounds way cooler when you say building the studio.
I know, building the studio out right now. We're taking Joe Rogan to Blueprint and just going to see what we can do with it.
Bro, I love it, man. It's really an honor to be on here, man. I know sometimes we just tell random stories and stuff, but I literally, anytime I can talk to a good friend like you and share some stories and some things that help me along the way, it's always a good time, man. So.
Nuh-uh, man. I appreciate that. And same to you, man. I know I get a little too self-helpy when you're on here because I'm just like, I feel like you can change the world, man. You just got such a great outlook.
Man, I struggle just like everybody, like you said, you know.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna make out after this podcast ends on this love fest.
My guy, dude. It's my guy.
Where can people see your stuff? You're on social media.
Yeah, I'm on IG, man. The Ginger Ninja JD, and Facebook, Jesse Doyle, all that stuff. I usually post, you know, here and there, just checking in, try not to flex too hard, you know.
Oh, he flexes real hard. Great motivational quotes, though. He's a great follow.
Hey, I'm trying, man. You got the right guy right here. So next one we're doing Texas, bro, and we'll have to get some rolls, bro. How can I not love you, dude? My little white belt baby,
dude.
Jiu-jitsu guys just turn it into a blue belt savage out here strangling fools, and
the ground is my ocean, dog.
Proud.
That's the thing Jesse gave me, and that's why Jesse gave me the false confidence I needed when I was a white belt to keep sticking with jiu-jitsu, because I came from the boxing world, just doing stand-up, and like I got on the ground, and Jesse just filled me with this false confidence that I could be good at this. And I was like, all right, cool. Well, I'm going to look up 10th Planet when I move to Ventura, and we're going to see what happens. But, you know, It worked. I stuck with it.
I'm telling you, man, just planting the seed. I see it all the time now. And then it's like an addiction, dude. You get it, and then you're like, oh, I'm in this. This is my thing. You know?
Yeah, that's the best thing about jiu-jitsu is it puts you in touch with reality whenever you get strangled. And then once you know that reality, you either two things happen. You run from it and you're like, I'm going to tune that out and pretend like that those savages don't exist. or I'm going to dive into it and be like, I need to learn this to protect myself for the rest of my life because I know those people are real.
You're speaking my language right now, dude. This is literally what I'm living right now. I'm like, oh, I need to level up. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, the best thing is you're too damn tired to be mad at anybody. So that's go jiu-jitsu, you'll be too tired to care about most things. So.
and dude, honestly, that's the thing is a lot of those like inclinations to be aggressive just go out the window. You just turn into a gentle gorilla.
100%. You realize that your body literally is just overflowing with rocket fuel, and you got more than you think. Sometimes you're going through the day like you're on E when you wake up, but you realize once you let it rip a couple times, you're like, oh shit, I got energy. I can do this. Let's go.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love you.
I love you too, Jesse.
We'll take a 5-minute break and we'll do part 2 right now.
All right, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and remember, no matter what, I love you.